So I've got this one, get another nice little cup. So say I'm, you know, I like what's happening with the form, but I don't like how it sits on the table. So maybe I can make the bottom of this a little bit more interesting. So I can grab a few more balls of clay, or another ball of clay, excuse me. I'm just gonna make another little coil. Like so. And so now, I'm gonna give myself a little ring down here on the bottom of water. And I'm gonna score this really well. I'm going to take my coil and just pinch this onto the bottom. Like so. And again, really kind of squeeze and firmly press it into the clay. And I'm going to, you can see that seam. I'm going to compress the fresh coil clay into the cup to cover up that seam. Again, I'm concerned about this cracking, so I'm going to compress it really well. And same with the outside. And again, I can create a division with this later if I want to. So now, instead of that cup that had a flat bottom on it, you know, I have a more, what we would call a foot, almost like a trimmed foot, but not trimmed in this case. And if you can tell, it's a little cracky on there, you know, kind of similar to how the rims were acting. So I'm just going to grab a sponge and just soften that edge. So it's not so cracked looking. And so that's just a nice little foot ring, a nice way to, you know, maybe elevate a shorter cup. Maybe if you don't want such a tall cup, but this now makes it a little bit taller by that little added bonus. And again, I could put a handle on this one as well if I wanted to turn this into a mug. I'm just gonna leave this one for a cup for time purposes. And again, I just want to make sure this stays even. I just noticed there was a thick spot, so I'm just going to gently pinch that. And this is fresh clay, so it's really soft. This is leather hard clay, so it's really firm. So until this firms up, I'm going to dry this upside down to make sure that it doesn't get too flat. And I chose to do a foot ring here, but I could also, if I wanted to, well, maybe I'll grab one more cup and do it. What the heck? So say I don't like this little guy. I want to make maybe the bottom more interesting. So let's put some feet on it. So I'm gonna grab a little bit more clay. Again, I'm gonna work a little water into it just to soften it up. And I'm gonna try and grab 3 moderately identical hunks of clay. So when I put feet on something, I'm typically gonna do 3. Sometimes the general idea is to do 4, but 4 can be really challenging. Because, you know, if we think about a tripod, it's going to be really, really sturdy because there's 3 points. If we have 4, sometimes in clay that can be a little bit cattywampus because I haven't really seen this yet, but everything's going to shrink as it dries. Everything's going to shrink as it fires. And oftentimes when there are 4 feet or more, one of them tends to warp or sort of lift up. So you end up having this teetery thing happening. So we're going to do 3 so it's more stable. So same idea. I'm going to moisten 3 spots. And again, I'm just kind of going over generalities for these feet. it could certainly be more interesting. I'm just gonna squeeze this down on there. I'm gonna try and make these as far apart or evenly spaced out as I can. And before I go into really compressing or connecting them on, I want to look at them and make sure that they're really, equal. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab this wooden knife tool to help me compress this in. And you could use one of the ribs for this too. And since these are, feet down on the bottom, again, we could separate these later with the pointed end of this tool, but really compressing them on first is really important so that they don't want to crack off or chip off. So now we have a little tripod cup. And I can see it's a little unbalanced, so I can actually sort of, while these are soft, sort of shift this. It's gonna be easier to do now than later. And again, I'll clean this more up later, but these are really soft, and I want them to make sure that they adhere to this. So again, I'm gonna dry this for a little bit upside down.